Well, hello, and welcome. I am Jessie Bowen with Elite Publications, and I'm here with the Executive Director of Marketing, Jessica Phillips.
Hello. Great to be here with you guys today. How's everyone doing?
Well, it's going great, Jess. We really have. Now, if you're just tuning in, remember we've got some guests coming on. It's all about these new authors, and today is a national day, and it's Book Lovers Day, and we're going to bring on some gentlemen that are releasing their books. These are authors coming in. So, Jessica, I'm going to let you go ahead and get them in, introduce them, so people can already see who's going to be our special guest today. These are brand new authors. Their books haven't released. They're getting ready to release next month and into January. So and also into May, all the way into May. So let's bring them on, Jess.
That's right. First, let's bring up Hanji Thomas Fleming. He is here. We have him out of the CKA Legacy book that's releasing. We have Mr. Brandon Davis. His book is releasing, and it is called, remind me one time, Mr. Davis.
Rules for Winning.
Rules for Winning. Thank you. Slipped my mind. And then we have a trio here, but we'll bring on a duo first, who is writing One Team, One Fight, One Family, and that is Master Lewis Davis. We have Coach Medina, and then we're going to have on later their co-author, Grandmaster Michael Bennett. So thank you, each and every one of you, for being here today. We applaud you for your books coming out, our up-and-coming elite authors. Congratulations.
Well, this is very exciting to, we've been working on this for a few months and taking an idea and a concept and turning it into reality. So this is what we're doing today. If you've ever thought about writing a book and the impact, what was on my mind this morning when I got up and I'm getting prepared was, when did a book influence me? I was 21 years old. I was introduced to the book Think and Grow Rich by my martial arts instructor. I'd also like to say that several of these guys are involved. Well, pretty much everybody's involved in some form of martial arts or combat sports, and we all have a different thing. But I was thinking this morning that I was influenced. I was 21 years old, had never read a book, doing homework and stuff like that, but I never read a book. And no one had ever really talked to me about reading a book. And my martial arts instructor gave me a book titled Think and Grow Rich. And I read that book, and that was the beginning of inspiration in the motivational speaking, coaching, doing things that were about life-changing. And I introduced to Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield. And so this has influenced me over the past 50 years that I coached companies like Nike and Raytheon. But it was that book that changed my life. And the first image of success in the martial arts was a magazine that was called Karate Illustrated. It was a picture of Chuck Norris standing with a big trophy. He had his foot in a chair, little old lady, him in his uniform, and he was holding this giant trophy. I knew it from that image in that magazine that I wanted to be like Chuck Norris, and I wanted to have a trophy just like Chuck Norris. So books can influence us. And Absolutely. So what we're doing in your books are very powerful because they're about legacy books. They're collecting your history, your experiences, and we're bringing them all together. And so it's such an honor for Elite Publications for us to have this opportunity to work with you in the publishing of your book. And everyone, we're going to be giving you their websites. Go and check out their books. They're amazing. We know that these books are going to become international bestsellers because of the content, all the things that's in there. So we're going to get started because I know you want to know who are the people. So we're going to start with Mr. Fleming, Hanji Fleming, Tom Fleming, and he's out of Canada. And hey, sir, how you doing?
Doing well, Jesse. Doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Well, let's talk a little bit, really about, about you. Let's tell, because, you're not just an author or the guy that's putting this stuff together, because, you've been involved in the martial arts. People know you from around the world. So let's talk a little bit about who you are.
Well, I've been in karate now for almost 57 years now, in the martial arts for 61 years. I started in judo and then moved to karate. I've been vice president of the Canadian Karate Association. I was one of its original members in 1970, and then I was asked to be vice president, and now I'm president of the Canadian Karate Association since 2015. But I've been involved with the association since 1970. I've competed in Canada, the United States, and Europe. I've coached teams with Hanshi Fern, my teacher. And that's the gentleman that taught me all the way straight through from first degree up. Prior to that, it was Professor George Sylvain that taught me karate, and I was with him until black belt. And then he quit karate, and he gave me a letter to go to Fern Cleroux in Hull, Quebec, and I trained with him for the last 50 some years with him until he passed away. And he was president of the Canadian Karate Association.
Wow. You've got a long history of martial arts, and I know your book is about capturing that legacy of your organization and the people that are in the organization. So, is there a book that maybe you have read that influenced your life?
I was thinking about that, Jesse, when you mentioned that to us earlier today. And the only thing I can remember, back then there were no books that came out in the 60s and stuff like that we ever saw. But the first time I read from Black Belt Magazine, Official Karate, and things like that really showed me what was going on in the United States. And it really influenced me that way, especially the top people back then, like Bill Wallace, Joe Louis, and things like that. They really influenced me. Especially Bill. He's been a big influence for me personally. But as a book itself, no. It was watching a demonstration, Professor George Sylvain, my first teacher, my first sensei. And he was throwing around this guy all over the ring, just unbelievable. And I was just dumbfounded. I went, my God, this man is unreal. And I joined his club. That's how it came about. I was only a kid then.
Well, that is great. Now, if we would go back and think for a second about the martial arts magazines, what if they'd never been written? We probably wouldn't have this conversation, because the martial arts world would not have advanced to where it is without someone telling the story. Who are the competitors? Who are the people writing the inspirational articles? I mean, I had hundreds of magazines. I never threw one away. And actually, before I sold my school, I had a tournament, and I actually gave my kids, they got a trophy on a magazine, magazines going back to 1970, so
you're so right.
What if those things had not been written? So this is the value of the written word and publishing. This is how we advance, is through knowledge, and be able to do that. Sir, thank you. And I'm coming back to you. I'm going to move over to Master Lewis Davis. Hey, sir, how you doing?
Unmute.
I am doing well, sir. I am doing well.
Okay, great. Well, we want to welcome you here, and I know that you've got a book coming out, and you have co-authors with your book, because your book has a lot of knowledge. And until we started talking about it, we talk about the Olympics, we talk about the different areas of martial arts, but I really didn't know a lot about the Taekwondo in the military. We got a lot of friends that have been in the military, and they've studied the martial arts, but you have a very unique experience, because you're coming from the military, and you're talking about your experience and the authors and the history and capturing something that I believe would be lost if you had not decided to engage in this book project. And I really think that it's going to impact the Taekwondo world, and especially any form of military, or even, young people thinking that are martial artists, thinking about going into the military, and some opportunities. So tell us a little bit about you. Then I'm going to go down the line to your co-authors and have them to share a little bit about themselves.
Yes, sir. I am a native of Chicago, Illinois. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. When I was a child, I used to watch my father practice his basic blocking movements when we lived in Chicago. Every morning I got up, my father was in our dining room in his uniform practicing his basic blocks. That's what planted the initial seed. And I really didn't do anything about it until much later as I became a teenager. And during that time, I experienced quite a few traumatic events. And martial arts gave me something that traditional sports just wouldn't. And that was a fair and impartial chance. It welcomed me, it accepted me, it embraced me for who I was. And I was blessed to meet people that taught me to control my temper. And it wasn't until 1993 at the national championships here in St. Paul, Minnesota. That's where I first learned about the military. I was shocked, and I found myself combing the stands. Next thing you know, I found out that all four of our main branches at that time had a team, and I was sold. I enlisted the next year, and I came into contact with Grandmaster Bennett, who took me the rest of the way. He taught me everything I needed to stand on the stage beside him as a national competitor, and that was the beginning of my journey. Aside from that, I also practiced Chinese martial arts, a hybrid form of Southern Praying Mantis called Six Combinations, which I have resumed training since I left the military. Watching these two men, Grandmaster Medina and Grandmaster Bennett, and seeing what the example that they set as both athletes and as soldiers, that's, I can tell you with absolute certainty, it is not something that is easy to do. What inspired me to write this, and I'll start with the books. Simply put, there were two books that serve as inspiration. One is the Old Testament from the Bible, because there are tale after tale in the Old Testament came from nothing, of underdogs who became very powerful figures, who became leaders. The other is a book that speaks about Reginald F. Lewis called "Why Should White Guys Have African American who had took Wall Street head on. He broke barriers." Those two served as the catalyst, and of course, learning how the military wasn't keeping track of what we were doing. Those were my inspirations. So
great. That is awesome. And that's what we really want to say about writing. And a lot of times we think it's complicated to write. And I know, Louis, when we started our project, it was like, okay, this is going to be overwhelming. But once we started and, we did the Zoom videos, we began to capture everything that needed to be.
You are so right.
On Zoom, and which had the transcript. So you don't necessarily have to sit down with a pen and paper and write, because we can interview you and begin to get your information. And this is how you started your book, with getting the information to write your book, was through Zoom videos and being able to take these transcripts and then transcripts to be able to break them down. So, if you're thinking about, well, I really have a story, but I'm not sure I know how to write, there's so many ways that we can support you at Elite Publications. Again, Elite Publications, check out the website, www.elitepublications.org. So I want to bring on your co-writers, and Coach Medina, let's bring you up. And I know you are in Puerto Rico, am I correct?
No, really, I live in Georgia, Huntsville, Georgia, but I'm not sure. I grew up in Puerto Rico. Really, that's
Oh,
when
well,
I
you've been fooling me all this time. I thought I was talking to you, and you were
but,
in Puerto Rico. You done faked me out.
oh well. But I'm here in the United States for a long time, since 1979, because
Well,
that's when I came to the service.
it was really great. I've seen the way that you three guys work together. And I guess I wanted to say what I love about you guys working together. You're a martial artist, and there's a protocol, and you guys are, supporting Master Davis and to bring this story out. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm born and raised in Puerto Rico, a little town, a small town called Humacao. A country boy, So the first time that married with two children, two grandkids. By the way, one of my grandkids is in the Navy now. He had to follow my legacy. He's not he gonna get beat up by me, anyhow. So, uh, so when I started martial art was in 1969. The guy was a green belt in Okinawa Karate, Louis Davis. So we don't have we have magazine, no book. And guess what? This is me getting the magazine. Everything was in English. What I had to do, I look at the picture, I follow the picture. I made up something out of the picture. But what got me in martial art was, I was in elementary school. I got beat up with almost all my friends because I was really skinny. You talk about maybe between 60 to 70 pounds. I don't know how to defend myself until I met Mr. Louis Diaz. And he was the one that used to beat me real bad. And I talk about made me cry. And he didn't know that he started making me stronger. I said, okay, beat me. And then from Okinawa, I went to Kyokushinkai. So I went to the university, and then I didn't have no money to pay. So they told me to go ahead and train free. And everybody was taller than me. At that time, maybe I was 80 pounds, maybe wet. And same thing. They made me cry. But they said, no, don't cry. You'll be okay. I said, yeah, right. Because I'm the one with the pain, not you. So I continue, and I got to the point that up to today, what made me what I am today is the people that is around me, because I didn't do it by myself. So I appreciate, all these people, they've been with me, next to me, give me some kind of bite here, there. So now I'm, here. I'm really thank God, but the thing that I haven't done for me, also I thank God for my friend. They are my family as well. When I need them, and they are there for me, center with me when they need me. I'm there. And Davis, Coach Bennett can tell you about it, and other people. So I'm trying to learn how to be humble.
Well, sir, I bet you the bullies that were beating you up back at that time, I bet they never thought you would actually be one of the people that would help archive the military Taekwondo. So all those bumps and bruises that we've taken, they make us stronger.
Yeah.
They make us stronger, because I think all the grandmasters have the same story, where they couldn't defend themselves, but they became world champions. So when you're knocked down, the power to stand up. And here you are today as one of the co-authors in the upcoming book that I think is going to really make a difference in the world. So I congratulate you on that. And so we'll move on here to Grandmaster Michael Bennett, and he's one of the co-authors, in the book. And the book is One Fight, One Family. No, One Team,
No, one
One
team.
Fight, One Family. So he is one of the co-authors there. So, hey, sir, so take a moment. Let's introduce you. Then we'll be ready to get on the road here, talk about your books and things.
Okay. My name is Michael Bennett, which you just heard part of my name. I was raised and born in Louisiana, which is Shreveport, Louisiana. That's where I came from before I got into the military. And one of the reasons why I got in the military was to join the Taekwondo team, because someone told me when I was learning martial arts in Shreveport that they had a Taekwondo team in the military, and I was surprised. So I looked into it and found out who the coach was, which at that time I was talking to Master Harris at the time, who was the coach, and I asked him about joining the team, and he was telling me what I had to do. So I joined the military just to look, just like Lewis Davis was looking for the Taekwondo team. I was too, but I knew in a direction, so I was able to accomplish that. And once I got a chance to see what the Taekwondo team about, I thought I was one of the best, but I learned that there are a lot of guys way better than me. So I knew, matter of fact, that's why I saw Rafael Medina. He was there at the time, and I was like, wow, these guys are great. Made me feel bad, and I'm a heavyweight, and here this bantamweight looking better than me. So I knew that I had to step up my game. But I was fortunate to be a part of these guys, and the book tells you a lot about that experience from all of us, and to give other people the knowledge of us being in the military and also participating in this sport to help represent the United States in another fashion, not just for pulling triggers, but for actually competition wise to show that, well, the U.S. is one of the best teams, and we wanted the world to know that we are the best, no matter whether we on the field or we in competition for this sport. But we did wanted to push that out, and I think that was one of the things why I got caught up in this, because I wanted the best for the military as well as for the United States. Now, having said that, what Lewis was one of those products that I was able to find and gave him an opportunity to see that he wanted to reach his dream, and that's what I got with him. But it due to me learning from Coach Clayton as well as Coach Medina, because these was the guys who I ran down to beg them to train with. But until I found out how hard the training was, I kind of want to know what I got myself into. But I was able to achieve things that these guys led me into a championship title as a U.S. national and so forth. But all I ever told to Lewis is that third generation of military Taekwondo. And he came at a time where we was developing the programs. I was also going to different bases, which the books pretty much explain a lot of that, where I was going to these different military bases and setting up teams for all Army athletes or W class people to actually attend. If you go or get stationed there, you have somewhere to train. And that was my biggest mission. And I wanted to make sure everyone knew that, even though Fort Bliss was one of those starting points, because Coach Medina at that time would help me, and we helped each other, because he started teaching my kids, believe it or not, with his kids. So we build that bond and we build the reputation. Before I knew it, I knew what it took to set up teams for the military, and that's one of the things that we did. The book would explain a lot of that, that's pretty much it with me. I'm not the person that like to be up front, but I do know there's a lot of rich history here. And if Lewis Davis came to me one day and told me what he was trying to do, well, Grandmaster Bowden, you know, I done talked to you a few times after the award ceremony, and I said, this would be something I should write a book about. But when Lewis came to me and I said, you know what, I got somebody informed that can help you, and that's when I brought him to you and said, hey, help this brother publish his book, because it's a lot of history that I can help him reach his dream on his book. And then Medina, Coach Medina came in and said, hey, so we had to do with his knowledge, because he's a first generation of the Taekwondo. So we needed his history information as well as mine to give Lewis, which is third generation. And I think that's what makes this book such a successful book to read if you want to really know about the martial art on the military side. Even though it's an individual sport, but I think it's a big enough story and, should I say, accomplishment for a lot of us who may not would have had this opportunity if it wasn't for the military Taekwondo team that actually helped each branch out and each individual for us promotion, for us going out there to have the confidence to actually make decisions on the battlefield as well as in the ring. So a lot of that comes from these guys, and I would never take that away from them, even for those who are not coming back. But we still honor those in the book, and I think that's important too, that we don't forget those who still sacrifice as well as part of this team that was on the team and eventually went to the next level.
Right.
But I wanted to say thank everybody for giving me the opportunity. I want to thank Lewis, Coach Medina, who actually trained me, as well as Lewis. And Lewis in the book also explained how Lewis got the information because Coach Medina and Coach Clayton drilled it in me to have and always told me, continue to develop the system. And that's what I did. And that's what created Lewis and Kelvin, all those other guys because of that. So I'm proud. And I think hopefully this book would answer a lot of questions for a lot of people out there.
Right. Well, everyone, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the legacies, the stories, and how we take that information, which is valuable. Now, if this book had not been started and in its launch stage, that information would have been lost. A lot of information that people look back, even the young generation that's coming up, that's now in the military, they may not know the history. They know I'm training, I'm a part, but they don't understand the foundation. And a lot of times, if you don't understand the foundation, then the house will crumble. Things will not last. So I think with each of you, you're writing a book, being able to share that is powerful. And okay, Mr. Davis, you want to say something? Then I'm going over to Brandon. Okay, we're going to move on over to Brandon Davis. And hey, sir, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Jesse?
I'm doing great. I am doing great. And I know that, you have a dynamic book coming out, Rules for Winning. And, I know you are a speaker and you have taken your book. We love it. And you have applied that book into daily life and about growth and about success. So tell us a little bit about you and we'll touch the book a little bit.
Sure. So I'm an IT professional today. I'm a Navy veteran. I'm raising young children. I've been in a professional sort of life. I've been in a family sort of life. And the other thing I do, which is a little non-standard, is I participate in full contact armored combat. And that is where we wear full medieval armor and steel weapons. And we fight full contact. We can submit through pain, or we can put them down and take them out of the fight that way. It's a team-based sport. So typically I'm in the list with 4 other teammates and we're fighting a 5-man team against us.
Well, how did you come up with the concept of your book?
So, my time in the Navy, I was fortunate enough to lead toward the end of my time there in the Navy. And I learned some hard lessons. When you're on a boat and you've only got the mentors there in front of you. And if you don't click with the people around you, you're going to struggle. And so some of my lessons were trial and error, and some of them were just learning ways to get along with people who knew more than me. But those early lessons kind of stuck with me. And then, I transitioned into a civilian professional life, and I kept noticing that a lot of the managers and leaders around me were sort of struggling to build a team that could succeed or could, perform at a high level. And so, I thought back to my Navy time, and I was also during this time building a team, attempting to build a team that could compete nationally in armored combat. And as I began to apply the principles I'd learned in the Navy, I found that I was having some success. It took us to 3 national championships. We're here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is basically flyover country, and we're competing with places like California that have massive population density to draw talent from. And we were still able to take some national championships.
Wow, and that is great. So your book, Rules for Winning, and again, that is awesome. And everyone, again, having the opportunity to read through your material, to take a look, there's a huge message in there. So, Hunchy Fleming, Tom Fleming, tell us, what is it that you would want? You got people from all over the world, and the uniqueness about your book, and which is that your book is actually in English and French. So this is a very unique book because in Canada, a huge population of your martial artists, they're French speaking. So let's talk a little bit about, we talked about the book. You've been to several of our events. We decided to move together, and we love the stories of the rich history of the Canadian Karate Association. So tell us in there, what's the message for people that are thinking about submitting their bio to be in the book? So what's the message you want to say to them? And they say, well, why should I be in this book?
Well, basically, the Canadian Karate Association book that we're trying to produce, as you know, is a full legacy. And what we're trying to do is tell them that if they can, it just doesn't even have to just be karate. We have people that back in the 70s were in Taekwondo, Kung Fu, kickboxing, this type of thing, that competed in our competitions because they were allowed to. And these people became champions at our competitions. We ran 36 major competitions that were international. People came from all over, like Ronald Van Cliff, Bill Wallace. He was one of our grand champions back in 70, I forget, 71 or 70. No, it wasn't 72, but 73, I think it might have been. He was our grand champion. But a lot of the people around the world know of big names like Chuck Norris, Bill Wallace, Joe Louis, these type of people. But when it comes to the Canadian history, they really don't know too many of them. You have greats like Walter Slokey, Harry Villeneuve, Ted Martin, Danny Riche, who's Taekwondo. I mean, this kid could fight like you had to see these men fight, and they were true champions. And the reason that we got this book going was that Hanshi Fern Claroux, who is my mentor and my teacher, when he was in the hospital and he was dying, he asked me, he says, Tom, we got to come up with some way of making a record of all these people from the beginning, from 1969, from Andre Langelet, Fern Claroux, and George Sylvain, who started the association. And they were known as the French Connection in Canada. Toronto, you have Montreal, Ottawa was the triangle. And then you had the West Coast and East Coast, but they were known as the French Connection. And that's where this whole French thing came around. And to make the book fair for all the Canadians out there, we had to come up with a way. And that's when I spoke to you about it. And it was Bill Wallace that said, go see Jessie Bowen and Elite. They'll come up with a way so that Fern's wishes to make a record of the CKA from 1970 to 2024 would come out and make it so that it's bilingual. And we came up with this concept that on one page would be either English and French, and on the other side of that same page would be the French version of the person's bio. And that's how we're bringing this about, so that a lot of people don't realize that most of the big fighters either came out of Toronto, Hamilton, in that area, Ottawa, the Outaouais, it's called, the Ottawa area, Hull, Gatineau, and then down to Montreal. That's where you had the biggest fighters. And we produce some of the finest out there. Like today, Danny Griffith out there is considered one of the finest fighters in his time. Harry Villeneuve, Walter Slokey, Teddy Martin, all the older ones in the 70s. But this whole concept of getting this book together was basically after talking with you and getting the education and knowing how to do it, because I didn't know how to write a book. Let's be honest, guys. I had no idea. And I went to Las Vegas with Bill Wallace, and I met the team at Elite, and they came up with the idea of this biography type book where everyone wrote their own biography and put it in, and I did a small history. And this is how this all came about. And I just wanted to complete a wish of my teacher, Hansi Frank LaRue, that there was um, some kind of record on all these people so they're never forgotten. Like you mentioned on the Taekwondo, all the people that we inducted into our Canadian Karate Association Hall of Fame, the ones that have passed away, are now in the book. We have them in the book, so they're never forgotten. And that was Hansi Clarue's wishes to have this done. And this is how this whole book started to evolve. And it's been since last November. And the impact on my life has been unbelievable. Reading all these different bios on these black belts. And it's really inspiring me, I'll tell you that. It really inspired me reading about all their accomplishments. And that's where I am right now in this book. That's about it. I can tell you.
We thank you. We thank you so much. That's such an inspiring story. And we're glad here at the Elite Publications team, we're glad to have each and every one of you as clients. I mean, you guys, we have some clients and you guys are at the top. You're one of the best. So your work.
They're gone. We lost them.
We did.
It's just
Something happened.
just authors now.
Uh-oh. Can you see me?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
Someone's going
man.
to take over this interview. So we thank Hanchi Fleming for that story. We thank you for entrusting
Mr.
us with
Davis,
your work.
please keep in touch.
Yes, sir. So we're not done here. We lost Hanchi Bowen. We are still live, but we want to make sure that we continue to flow. He'll be back here in just a second. So again, if you guys are interested, if you're viewing and you have the same story as Hanchi Fleming about not knowing how to write a book, or the same story as Master Lewis Davis, I think he mentioned that too, not knowing how to write a book, the Elite Publications team will absolutely take care of you. We have a phenomenal team. I'm not saying that because I'm biased. I am a little biased, but we do have a phenomenal team, and we will help you from A to Z. So if I can kick this over to Master Davis, what inspired you to write your book about the history of the Taekwondo?
To write the book?
Yes, sir.
What really started this was a visit. What really started this was a visit to Pickens, South Carolina, to one of my predecessors, a former lightweight champion named Reginald Perry. The way he spoke about the Armed Forces Taekwondo team, not just the Army, but the Armed Forces team, he said it gave him goosebumps. And that sparked a curiosity. I started wondering, where did all of this come from? So the first question I started asking some of my teammates when I got back to Germany, I started asking Master Medina, how did all of this start? A lot of people said talk with Bruce Harris, one of the coaches that's recognized, but I couldn't get any straight answers. I couldn't find a stepping off point. A lot of people started mentioning Master Medina, Pedro Laboy, and Mark Green as these three were the ones that kicked it off for the military. It wasn't until 2007 when Grandmaster Medina put up a website that shed some light on things, gave me a starting point. And that's what triggered it. I wanted to honor, is the easiest way to say it. I wanted to honor these two gentlemen that are my co-authors and everyone else that came before me. as I understood the importance of looking to the past to see what those people went through, to fuel my own efforts to push forward. Anybody that strives for greatness, you are going to be tested. You are going to come across barriers. You are going to be challenged. Your faith is going to be challenged. Your faith in God, your faith in yourself, your faith in your abilities. All of those things are going to be put to the test, and it's going to be a painful process. But you have a choice. You can quit and run for the hills like a lot of people do when the going gets tough, or you can dig your heels in and keep going. The U.S. champions have a saying, there is no traffic on the extra mile. And they're right. I took the hard road to move forward. And I'll use Coach Bennett as an example. After my first year with the Army team, he and the rest of my teammates at Fort Hood kept telling me that I should go to Korea and continue my training there. But I wanted a different path. I wanted to do something that no one else was doing, which was to compete outside of the United States on my own in a different country other than Korea. And that yielded fruit. So by the time I arrived in Korea, I had some experience under my belt. And the Koreans took me the rest of the.
Okay.
And
am I here?
It's my hope
yes, sir.
that
Okay.
that people will see that.
And that's great. You know, that's what we really want to do.
Yeah, so we see you now. But that is, it's, sir?
Okay, so we're gonna, and that's great, and that's what we really
at
want
the
to
end of
know.
the day,
That
it's
this is
about
what,
knocking down barriers, because when you put that uniform on,
Nope. Yeah, there's just is a little slight delay on
Yeah.
when someone's in. So
I couldn't
we,
hear you.
we appreciate Mr. Davis, Master Davis, telling his story and being impactful and getting the history, you know, between Grandmaster Bennett, Grandmaster Medina, and Master Davis, getting the history and putting it down. And that's what you guys are doing. It's the same with Hanshi Fleming. Our tagline here at Elite Publications is everybody has a story. You just have to get it out. So we applaud each and every one of you for taking that initiative and getting it out. Hanshi Bowen, did you want to add something to that?
am I having some delay?
No, sir. It's
Okay.
not you. It's not on your end.
All right, great. All right, well, let's go on to Brandon because we're getting ready to wrap up here. Again, everyone, this program is really introducing you to our upcoming authors, Elite Publication. You know, we had National Authors Day last week. So what we decided is take a whole month and really share with everyone who are our authors, who are the people that are taking the steps to actually write their book, doing something that will empower. And we want these authors to be an inspiration to you. If you've ever been inspired to do something you feel like you cannot, then this is the time you can do that. So we're going to go into our final question with Brandon Davis. And of course, he has a new book coming out, and it's called The Rules for Winning. So Brandon, let's take and ask the question of you, you know, what would you say to someone that's been thinking about an idea? And I know you've got several ideas you've been thinking about, but what would you say to someone that's holding on to an idea, to a concept, but they're afraid to take the steps? I know we met through Randy Blake, and Randy had a book out, which was a really inspirational book. So I'm going to wrap it up with you, you know, because we want to make sure we get some good things in there about your book. So what would you say to someone that's sitting on the sideline, you know, well, I'm thinking about it, writing a book, I can't write a book, or what would you say to someone about taking that first step? And because your book will be able to change someone's life, what would you say to that person?
I would say to do it. You know, writers write, that's what they say. And just starting to put the words on the page will help quite a bit. And it may be, I wasn't born knowing how to write a book, and you and Elite Publications have been vital in helping me get where I need to go. But just starting is what makes it happen. And you know, working with you, you've been with me through 3 surprise surgeries now, helping me get this book into the world. It can happen. You know, you can overcome those things. You can overcome a lack of knowledge up front. As long as you have a story, the rest will take care of itself.
Wow, that's really great. That's really great. Everyone, we really do thank you for tuning in. And, you know, it's a 45-minute program. And if you came in the middle of it, go back to the beginning, because there's so much inspiration. These are, you know, guys here today, but had never, a year ago, had never thought about writing a book. An opportunity came in. They took the advantage of it. And, you know, they're changing lives. You know, in Canada, you know, Hanchi Fleming, you know, bringing the Canadian Karate Association together. We have the Taekwondo military competition teams that nobody may never have known about, are bringing this to light. You know, in the combative sports, you know, Brandon, nobody may even know about these things that exist. But we're all talking about how our life experience has helped us. And we become a doorway to helping someone else. And we would not do the world any service if we kept this great secret of how we have empowered our lives through our experiences. Maybe we can provide a shortcut to someone else that will benefit. This is the reason you write. This is the reason you archive your stories. This is the reason you share with the world. We are in a time that we need advice, and advice is short. Some is good, and a whole lot of it is bad. So again, as you know, as martial artists and combatives, you know, we have experienced a lot of things during our time. We probably have, let's see, 50. We probably have about 200 years of experience up here, you know, based upon, you know, our martial arts and life experience. So we bring this out in our writings and our books. So I just want to thank you, everyone, for you know, for being on the program. So I'm going to give you the chance. So Hanchi Fleming, what is the name of your book and your website?
It's called the Canadian Karate Association Legacy Book, and the website is CKALegacyBook.com.
All right, great. And Master Davis, what's the name of your book and the website?
www.
Okay, I think we cut off that.
Say again, sir. I could. You chopped in and out.
It's www.onetame.onefightOneFamily.com. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, great. All right, so that's your website. And Brandon,
Yes,
what is your website, book and website?
Yes, sir. That it is.
My book is Rules for Winning, and it's at BrandonDavis.com.
All right, everyone, remember, everyone has a story. You just have to get it out. Go to Elite Publications, and that's www.elitepublications.org. And remember, check out our brand new website. We're here to support you. Hey, have a blessed day.